As climate change worsens, humanity on Earth faces an unprecedented crisis. The only solution left is to abandon their home planet and search for a new world to survive. Welcome to a remarkable science fiction series called Lost in Space. In the 22nd century, after Earth's resources have been exhausted, humanity begins venturing into space in search of a new home. A space station called the Resolute suddenly suffers a catastrophic accident, forcing the entire crew to evacuate to a nearby planet. John prepares to evacuate his family aboard a Jupiter spacecraft, but elsewhere on the station, a robot from an unknown civilization suddenly launches an attack. Facing the robot's overwhelming power, they are unable to fight back and have no choice but to flee aboard the Jupiter. The Resolute is destroyed in an instant. A massive shockwave and debris strike one of the Jupiter ships, knocking it off course and sending it plummeting out of control. After the violent impact, the ship appears to have landed. When John tries to open the upper hatch, he finds it jammed and is forced to send his son Will outside first while the others search for another exit. Stepping outside, Will finds himself surrounded by an endless frozen world, with the spacecraft buried beneath thick layers of snow. The whole family eventually makes it outside, stunned by what they see. Suddenly, the spacecraft begins sinking and eventually submerges underwater, while John's wife, Maureen, discovers that the atmosphere contains oxygen. Scans reveal that the planet's air pressure, water supply, and gravity are similar to Earth's conditions. However, they have no idea where they are, and the situation grows critical as temperatures are set to drop to -50 degrees within 6 hours. To survive the freezing cold, they must return to the ship to retrieve lithium-ion batteries to power their spacesuits. Unfortunately, the nearest access point is blocked, leaving Will as the only one small enough to reach it. Despite his training, Will is overwhelmed by fear. Sensing this, Judy steps in and dives into the water, entering the spacecraft herself to retrieve the backup batteries. At that moment, the water begins crystallizing and the surface rapidly freezes. Judy struggles with all her strength to swim back up but can't outrun the ice and ends up trapped beneath it. Fortunately, her spacesuit can supply oxygen for up to 5 hours. John desperately tries to break the ice with his bare hands, only to realize it's completely futile. A sudden beam of light catches their attention, sparking a bold idea in Will's mind.
Magnesium? Magnesium burns hot. But you know what makes it burn hotter? Ice.
Father and son enter a cave to collect magnesium, but the ground suddenly collapses. Will falls into an icy cavern, slides away, and loses consciousness. John desperately calls out, but there is no response. When Will regains consciousness, he searches for a way out and finds himself standing before a dense forest. Meanwhile, John is forced to make a heartbreaking choice: return to save Judy, whose time is running out, leaving Will alone in the unknown wilderness. At that moment, fiery debris appears in the sky. Driven by curiosity, the boy ventures deeper into the forest, where a massive mountain rises before him. Will continues exploring and soon discovers the source of the falling fire. Moving closer, Will realizes that what lies before him is a crashed alien spacecraft. As he's about to go inside, Will senses something watching him from behind. He turns toward the forest and sees a mysterious shape moving among the trees. Terrified, Will takes off running. He hides beneath a rock to observe, but the mysterious creature continues to follow him. Will quickly climbs onto a tree branch, but the two-legged alien creature follows him up. In panic, Will backs away, unaware that a sharp claw is waiting behind him. 4 claws suddenly strike toward Will, forcing him to press himself tightly against the tree trunk. As night falls, Will remains trapped in the tree. A brightly colored butterfly catches both of their attention. The alien creature curiously observes it, revealing that the butterfly doesn't belong to this planet either. The red light on the alien's head suddenly dims as its energy runs low. Looking downward, it realizes that its body lies below. At that moment, falling embers ignite the forest, causing a massive fire. With escape nearly impossible, the alien stops struggling. Will decides to help and uses a tool to saw through the branch. Although Will remains stuck on the branch, the alien reunites its body and, in gratitude for being saved, leaps onto the tree, lifts Will up, and carries him away from the fire. They reach the mountaintop, where the alien extends its claws and curiously examines the boy. Suddenly, it transforms into a robotic form. Elsewhere, John attempts to rescue his daughter trapped beneath the ice. He places magnesium on the surface and ignites it. A blinding flash creates a hole in the ice, but thunder roars and heavy rain pours down, extinguishing their hope. As temperatures keep dropping, the hole quickly refreezes. John tries to ignite it again but fails. Just as despair sets in, a robot suddenly appears before them, terrifying everyone. Alarmed by the robot's sudden appearance, John goes on guard. At that moment, Will runs over, revealing that he brought it here. The robot looks at Judy trapped under the ice and issues a warning.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Can you help her?
The robot extends its hand, raising the surrounding temperature as the ice begins to melt. It pulls Judy free, leaving the family in shock as they stare at the being before them.
Can you do something so we don't freeze?
The robot raises its hand again, generating a warm, furnace-like heat that shields the family from the cold. Maureen examines the alien and realizes it isn't a natural life form, but one created from machinery. This marks their first discovery of alien robots. The creature originates from another planet. After its ship crashed, the robot became stranded here and appears to have lost its memory due to a system reset. Helped by Will, it chooses to assist the family in locating their sunken ship and melts the ice to prepare entry into the Jupiter. Meanwhile, 12 hours earlier, during the alien attack on the Resolute, a woman impersonating someone else breaks into the station. Amid the chaos, she is attacked by an alien robot and discovers a severely injured scientist.
What are you doing? Sorry. What?
Meanwhile, two engineers on the space station, having no ship of their own, plan to steal a Jupiter to escape. The woman impersonating a doctor, now wearing a scientist's uniform, encounters them. Using a security scan, she successfully gains access to the ship and even invites the two engineers to join her.
Oh, sorry, Miss...
Dr. Smith.
When the spacecraft explodes, a massive shockwave knocks the Resolute off course, sending it spiraling downward before vanishing into space. Engineer Don wakes up to see a chicken. While they are stranded at the edge of a cliff, he tries to unfasten his seatbelt but finds it jammed. When he pulls out a knife to cut it, the ship shakes violently, the knife falls away, and the chicken panics. Don calls out for the other engineer but finds only Dr. Smith nearby. She tosses him the knife, allowing him to cut himself free. The spacecraft teeters on the brink of collapse, nearly plunging over the edge. The two narrowly escape disaster. They soon discover that the other engineer has died. With no options left, they gather some supplies and 3 signal flares. Don fires one flare but gets no response, then notices a parachute ahead. Carrying the chicken with them, they head toward it. When they arrive, they find an injured young woman. Believing she's dead, Don takes items from her body, only to be proven wrong moments later.
Oh, what the...
Elsewhere, John's family works on repairing their spacecraft. Penny spots an explosion in the distance. When they investigate, all they find is wreckage, clearly the remains of another Jupiter ship. They attempt to send a radio signal but detect no survivors nearby, unaware that a massive storm is rapidly approaching. As the storm closes in, Don and Smith try to move the injured girl away. With the storm almost upon them, they are forced to fire a second flare to call for help. Elsewhere, Maureen detects a strange audio frequency. Will immediately recognizes it as similar to the signal from the alien spacecraft, prompting the family to head toward the crash site. Upon arrival, Maureen can hardly believe what she sees. An alien spacecraft stands before them. The group decides to enter and investigate. Inside, they find strange symbols and realize the ship has been heavily damaged. Meanwhile, outside, Will plays with the alien robot. Will throws a ball to the robot, but it doesn't understand. He places the ball in its hand and shows it how to throw. The robot gently tosses the ball back, and Will throws it again, forming a simple bond. John witnesses the scene. When the robot throws the ball, it falls to the ground. As Will goes to retrieve it and the robot approaches, the ship's energy system is accidentally activated. The robot's head instantly turns red as the spacecraft powers up. John and Maureen are pulled into a simulated space, revealing a star map with their current planet at its center. With a simple swipe, an entire star system appears before them. They are stunned to see that it forms a massive sphere rather than a galaxy, meaning they are outside the Milky Way. No one can explain how they ended up on a planet with Earth-like conditions, defying all known laws of physics. The robot then projects the attack on the Resolute. When it removes its hands from the controls, the ship's power shuts down. Horrified, Will realizes the robot was responsible for the attack and runs into the forest in fear. Having lost its memory, the robot forgets its original mission. Now, it only wants to protect the boy who once saved its life. To eliminate any doubt, Will gives the robot commands, all of which it follows without hesitation. To test its loyalty, he tells the robot to face a cliff.
Walk forward. No, wait!
The robot immediately obeys, fully earning Will's trust. John eventually finds his son. To protect the robot, Will hides the fact that it attacked the spacecraft. They decide to return to the ship, unaware that a violent storm is approaching. As the storm draws closer, something falls from the sky. Will picks up a sharp fragment and realizes it's an unknown mineral. Dark clouds gather as rocks rain down. The robot shields Will with its solid body, but even that isn't enough against the relentless barrage. With no other choice, they search for shelter. Hiding beneath a massive rock, sharp debris cuts John's hand as they cling to each other, waiting for the storm to pass. At that moment, Penny's voice comes through the radio. She's driving an off-road vehicle to find them, though they don't know their exact location. Suddenly, a beam of light appears overhead. The robot has activated its illumination mode, allowing Penny to spot them quickly. They rush into the vehicle, but due to the weight limit, the robot is forced to ride on the back. Elsewhere, Don and Smith are also caught in the storm. They take the injured girl into a cave for shelter, then Smith tells Don to stay and look after her while she goes to find help.
You have one flare left. You'll know when to use it. That's how I'll find you.
Don feels a moment of emotion, unaware that Smith's greatest talent is lying. John's family leaves the forest and heads back toward their spacecraft. Don keeps waiting in the cave. Using binoculars, he spots something in the distance, the Robinsons' vehicle. He quickly grabs the flare and silently prays. Will also notices the flare ahead. John wants to rush in to rescue the survivors, but the storm is too dangerous to risk it. When they arrive, only Smith is there.
Is there anyone else with you?
No, it's just me.
Only then does Don realize he's been deceived. Back in the cave, Smith had hung her necklace on a branch, claiming it was precious and asking Don to retrieve it. While he was distracted, she stole the last flare, leaving only the necklace behind. Don and the injured girl are forced to endure the storm inside the cramped cave. On the other side, John's family manages to return to their ship just before the storm hits. The spacecraft is buried beneath a massive sheet of ice. Maureen calculates that they are billions of light years away from Earth. Even at maximum speed, it would take 600 years to return, something that defies the laws of physics. Why they landed on a planet with Earth-like conditions remains a mystery. The situation worsens with the Resolute severely damaged, leaving them potentially stranded forever. Suddenly, the spacecraft begins to shake violently. The ice above starts cracking, forcing them to repair the ship quickly as fuel levels continue to drop. John enters the fuel chamber to investigate and discovers a mysterious black substance moving inside. The alien robot also detects something wrong within the fuel lines. To protect Will, the robot locks him inside a room. When John and Maureen rush over to ask what's happening, the robot immediately issues a warning.
Why? What happened?
There's something on the ship!
Meanwhile, as John inspects the fuel chamber, the scanners start malfunctioning. Suddenly, something drags him downward. Judy senses something is wrong and immediately warns everyone.
Don't go downstairs.
An eel-like creature appears inside the spacecraft. Driven by curiosity, Maureen decides to dissect it to learn more. A green fluid leaks from the creature's body. Maureen discovers it smells like fuel, revealing why their fuel supply has been dropping. The situation turns critical. At this rate, the creatures will drain all the fuel within 15 minutes. The ship has 2 fuel tanks, but many creatures have already invaded the main tank, while the reserve tank, low on fuel, is about to open automatically. To prevent the creatures from entering the reserve tank, they are forced to shut the system down manually. As John moves to seal the fuel chamber, he's attacked by one of the creatures. He hoists it onto his shoulder and manages to lock the chamber in time. The family returns to the control room, preparing to launch the ship. However, the ship fails to start. At that moment, the ice above begins collapsing, and time is running out. Judy suddenly comes up with a bold idea.
Dump the fuel.
What?
Dump the fuel.
Judy explains that the ship can't start because the fuel-draining creatures have clogged the intake system, preventing combustion. They must vent the main fuel tank and rely only on the remaining fuel in the lines to escape. Once the fuel is dumped, the ship finally launches. In a critical moment, they escape the glacier. But as fuel runs out, they are forced to make an emergency landing. The sight before them leaves everyone stunned. At that moment, they receive a signal from survivors. At the same time, a hopeful transmission comes through from the Resolute.
This is Captain Raddick, broadcasting from the Resolute. We've taken on heavy damage, but are still operational.
The family regains a sense of hope. In contrast, Smith is deeply disappointed. After making too many mistakes, the imposter doctor fears judgment, and a new scheme begins to form in her mind. When a ship's hatch is blocked by a large rock, Will tries to move it with his small body. He strains with all his might, and the rock mysteriously shifts. If you think the boy is that strong, you're mistaken. The robot is secretly helping him. As John struggles to drive a stake into the ground, Will asks the robot for help. With a single gentle push, the metal rod sinks into the soil, earning John's impressed nod. A massive beetle-like insect appears on the planet. At that moment, Hiroki shows up, revealing that he and his granddaughter Aiko are also survivors. John contacts them over the radio, and Hiroki is overjoyed. At the same time, Don arrives carrying the chicken and asks Judy to treat the injured girl. John realizes that many other survivors have also crashed on this nameless planet. All the grounded ships are stuck because of the fuel-draining creatures. Soon after, they discover wreckage from the Resolute and immediately head there to salvage anything useful. Judy eventually uncovers the truth behind the Resolute's severe damage. It was caused by the alien robot's attack. Will draws something on the ground, and the robot mirrors him by drawing a figure 8. When Will asks what it's drawing, the robot suddenly issues a warning. Danger. Will has no idea that the symbol actually represents the robot's home planet. Judy returns to find Will and discovers that he already knows about the robot's attack on the Resolute. Angry, she tells everyone. Will desperately tries to explain that the robot has changed, but Judy refuses to believe him. To protect the robot, Will decides to lead it away. Learning of the plan, Smith secretly steals Will's gun. When Judy learns that Will plans to run away with the robot, she and Penny chase after him out of concern. They want to help Will find a hiding place for the robot. Reaching an open field, they suddenly witness something magical.
Hey, come on, you're flagging.
Have something to eat.
At the slightest sound, flowers bloom all around them. Judy claps, then Will joins in, and even the robot imitates them. At that moment, a massive beast suddenly appears. They run, only to find a deep ravine blocking their path. Just as they're trapped, a huge tree suddenly falls. It turns out the robot pushed it down, creating a bridge. At that moment, the robot's head turns red. The beast reappears behind them, but under the robot's fierce threat, it retreats in fear. When the danger passes, the robot raises its arms in celebration, mimicking what it learned from Will. An alien robot with overwhelming combat power, yet obedient due to its reset state, leaves Judy quietly impressed. They continue through the forest, where a massive waterfall appears ahead. To keep the robot hidden, they press on. Meanwhile, John and the others follow a signal to the Resolute wreckage and see clear signs of an attack, but find nothing useful. Will and his sisters spot a group of survivors in the forest. To avoid exposing the robot, they quietly hide and observe. They find a cave and decide to hide the robot inside. As night falls, they stay in the cave for safety. The robot seems to sense something unusual. In the dark forest, Smith appears. It turns out she's been secretly following them the entire time. With darkness setting in and solar power running low, John and the others are forced to camp overnight. Suddenly, purple lights fill the sky, leaving everyone in awe. Countless mysterious creatures drift across the sky, but the breathtaking moment is short-lived. Will quietly walks away, knowing that tomorrow he'll have to say goodbye to the robot. The robot stares at Will's handprint on the cave wall, seemingly understanding its meaning. It dips its hand into red mud and presses its own handprint beside it, leaving Judy stunned. When morning comes, the robot picks up a stone and hands it to Will.
For my collection? Thanks.
Will has no idea that the stone contains extraordinary energy. To avoid suspicion, they head back to the ship. Will says his final goodbye to the robot.
And you have to stay here. You're the one in danger.
The robot tries to follow Will, but the boy stops it.
Stay here.
Left alone in the cave, the robot looks lost. After Will and his sisters leave, Smith appears once again. In the pitch-dark forest, Smith curiously studies the creature before reaching out to touch it. In that very moment, another terrifying creature suddenly emerges. Because the Resolute is heavily damaged and unable to receive signals, the survivors on the planet build a light tower, hoping the ship can spot them. By studying the sunlight, Maureen notices something abnormal about the planet and decides to investigate further. John asks what's going on, and Maureen explains that the planet's climate is changing. She has discovered that sunrise timing is shifting and happens faster than on Earth, pushing her to uncover the cause. Smith runs into engineer Don and immediately puts on her act.
You know the flare gun that you stole from me when you left me for dead?
Smith lies, claiming she panicked and only fired the flare to test it, accidentally putting it in her pocket, insisting she never meant to steal it. She plays the emotional card, saying she deeply regrets it. Once again, Don chooses to believe her. Smith even claims her necklace protected Don, leaving him speechless. Her tear-wiping gesture only makes her true nature clearer to him. Maureen climbs to the mountaintop to prepare a makeshift hot air balloon for data collection. Just as everything is ready, a sudden gust of wind blows the balloon away. The tether snags Maureen's leg and drags her toward the cliff's edge. At the last second, Maureen manages to pull the pin free and narrowly avoids disaster. After regaining her composure, Maureen completes a simpler balloon and ascends into the air. Down below, the group finishes building the light tower, but its glow attracts swarms of insects. Remembering the fuel-draining creatures, Smith secretly enters a restricted area and alters the data to sabotage the plan. By now, Maureen has climbed tens of thousands of meters into the air. Using pressure changes to adjust her direction, she activates radiation shielding and scans the data, quickly detecting a serious threat.
Warning, Hawking radiation detected.
On the ground, the group is attacked as the light draws in a massive creature, a miniature Godzilla-like monster. The monster terrifies everyone. They scatter in panic as the light tower collapses, but the creature refuses to leave. The creature sets its sights on Penny. She hides inside a tent, holding her breath, but the monster moves straight toward her. Terrified, Penny covers her mouth to stay silent. Suddenly, her radio crackles to life, and she rushes to shut it off. At the most critical moment, John appears to save his daughter. The monster immediately turns its attention to him. John takes a defensive stance. John raises a knife to scare the creature, but it charges anyway. At that moment, a familiar figure steps in. The robot appears before everyone, leaving them stunned. Realizing it can't win alone, the creature calls another one. Together, they taunt and attack the robot. The robot doesn't fight back, obeying Will's command not to harm anyone. It is torn apart by the two monsters. At that moment, Will shouts an order. Return to your original form. Receiving the command, the robot instantly switches into combat mode, revealing its true form. In this state, the Godzilla-like creatures are no match. Both monsters are swiftly defeated. The robot turns toward the humans, preparing to attack, but Will immediately rushes in to stop it. Under Will's command, the robot shifts into another form. The sight terrifies everyone, except Smith, who smiles with dark satisfaction. Through scanning, Maureen discovers that this Earth-like planet is undergoing severe climate changes. The duration of sunlight exposure is increasing at an abnormal rate. Further atmospheric scans reveal a black hole lurking behind the sun. According to the laws of gravity, the planet's orbit is being pulled off balance, drawing it closer to the star. Once a critical threshold is reached, all life on the planet will be incinerated by extreme heat. Worse still, Maureen calculates that this point could come in just a few months, or even 1 or 2 weeks. It's essentially a death sentence hanging over everyone. With fear over the alien robot already running high, John and Maureen choose to keep this secret for now, unaware that Penny overhears them. A heated debate breaks out aboard the ship over what to do with the robot. One side insists it attacked them, while the other argues it saved their lives. Angela, who lost her loved ones in the robot's attack, can't understand why it hasn't been destroyed already. As the group's representative, Victor proposes handling the robot according to human law. John strongly objects, arguing that the robot merely followed its programming. The fault lies with its creators, not the machine itself. Besides, it's been reset and is no longer a threat. Facing countless dangers ahead, the robot's strength offers a sense of security. In the end, they decide to keep it. Seeing Angela storm off in anger, Smith seizes the chance to manipulate her. Claiming to be a psychologist, she offers help, but Angela rejects it. Before leaving, Smith casually suggests she take a walk to cool down. While walking in the forest, Angela stumbles upon a strange marking. Following a string, she finds a bag containing a gun one Smith had stolen and deliberately hidden there. Overcome with rage, Angela develops a dangerous idea. She confronts John with the gun. Despite his attempts to calm her, she loses control and points the weapon at the robot. The robot's head immediately turns red. Outside, Will hears the gunshot and rushes in. Threatened, the robot starts reverting to its original form. John tries to stop it but is thrown aside. Only when it sees Will does the robot stop. John is injured, and Will is overwhelmed with guilt. The robot also seems to realize it has done something wrong. Will leads the robot to the mountaintop.
You're the best friend I ever had.
Will hugs the robot tightly and says goodbye, then he gives it a command.
Step forward.
The robot looks down at the cliff below and understands. After one last lingering look at Will, it follows the command without hesitation. Two off-road vehicles arrive. To find fuel, Don leads them to the site where his Jupiter ship crashed. Since the ship crashed in a dry desert with no water, fuel-draining creatures never appeared there. Don strikes a deal with Victor, demanding payment in exchange for the information. Victor readily agrees. Upon arrival, they realize the Jupiter ship is gone. It has fallen into a deep ravine. Victor immediately cancels the deal, and the group is forced to head back empty-handed. At that moment, Don steps on something solid. As he clears away the dirt and rocks, a Jupiter ship is revealed. The others rush over to help. The ship begins to shake violently. Using shovels, they uncover an entrance and discover that the reserve fuel is still intact. They begin siphoning it out. However, Don voices his concern that draining all the fuel could destabilize the ship and cause it to fall into the ravine. To keep it balanced, they tether the ship to two off-road vehicles. As the fuel nears depletion, the engines strain at full power, forcing them to cut the line. Don goes down into the ship and finds Dr. Smith's quarters. As he's about to investigate, the ship suddenly slips, and the vehicles can no longer hold it. Opening the door, Don realizes that none of the photos belong to the woman known as Dr. Smith. The ship is about to fall. Above, Victor starts counting down to cut the line. One cable is severed, but Judy can't bring herself to do it, causing the ship to slide further. Judy refuses to abandon Don. Realizing the vehicles can't hold any longer, Don voluntarily releases the line. The ship loses balance and plunges downward. Judy can't believe what just happened. As everyone mourns Don, a hand suddenly grips the edge. He's still alive. The group quickly pulls Don back to safety. Meanwhile, Penny notices that the waterfall has disappeared. She tells VJ, Victor's son, that the planet is dying. As John drives in search of supplies, an earthquake hits. He's forced to reverse quickly as nitrogen gas erupts from the ground. The vehicle slides downhill. John struggles to control the speed and prevent a rollover. They survive, but when he tries to restart, the car won't move. Stepping outside, they smell a strong odor and realize they're trapped in a tar pit. Elsewhere, the fuel transport team finds the return route collapsing, leaving no alternative but to cross the nitrogen vent field. Through observation, they determine the nitrogen eruptions follow a cycle. Every 3 minutes and 27 seconds, they must sprint across at full speed. Everyone takes position, waiting for the gas to stop.
Now!
As the vehicles surge forward, one suddenly malfunctions. They discover the brakes are jammed due to a loose wire. Judy spots it immediately and warns them. Evan climbs out to reconnect the wire. Standing at the rear, he reaches for it and nearly falls due to the violent shaking. Regaining his composure, Evan reconnects the wire, but time runs out. Nitrogen erupts beneath the fuel truck, flipping the tank and pinning Evan underneath. The group is forced to move the fuel tank. Judy performs emergency first aid on Evan. Victor notices fuel leaking and argues that moving the tank will cause even more loss, insisting they stop and call another vehicle. Judy strongly disagrees. A fierce argument breaks out: sacrifice one life, or preserve the fuel to save many others. Evan is barely breathing now, forcing them to make a choice. Judy calls Don to help move the tank. Victor warns him that doing so will cost him his promised payment. Despite the conflict, Don chooses to save a life. As the tank is moved, fuel spills rapidly, but Evan survives, for now. The group heads back immediately. Due to his severe injuries, Evan doesn't survive. Elsewhere, John is trapped and ties a rope around a tree. As the vehicle slowly sinks, they seal the doors while it disappears into the tar pit. John discovers a spacesuit inside the vehicle. He plans for Maureen to wear it and escape outside, but opening the door would let the tar rush in. Maureen refuses the plan. John tells her to live for their children. The two share what feels like a final goodbye. Just as John is about to open the door, Maureen stops him. She's come up with a better idea.
If we could create enough pressure in here, we could just place the tar.
They seal plastic over the door and open the nitrogen tank. As pressure builds inside, they open the door and crawl out safely. Victor returns with the limited fuel and learns from his son that the planet is about to perish. Upon learning of the impending disaster, Victor decides to use the remaining fuel to launch a ship. John discovers his plan. Maureen warns that the fuel isn't enough to escape the atmosphere and the ship will crash, but Victor refuses to listen. To stop them, John jumps into the ship just before the hatch closes. He manages to shut down the launch sequence and tells everyone the truth. Because of the black hole, the planet's orbit is being dragged toward the sun. In just weeks, it will be incinerated, with no chance of survival for any life. Maureen proposes a last resort. With fuel so limited, they must discard everything non-essential to reduce mass. This means returning to humanity's most primitive form of space travel, keeping only the control system. 2 people will fly into space to locate the Resolute, while the rest support them from the ground. Smith finds the shattered robot and reassembles it, trying unsuccessfully to wake it up. While reviewing Wool's recordings, she discovers a strange frequency. The robot begins to show faint signs of response. When Judy returns, she tells Maureen about Smith impersonating a doctor. Maureen confronts Smith, asks her to help in the storage bay, then seizes the chance to lock her inside. Facing Maureen's suspicion, Smith puts on another act, warning them not to launch because she claims to have sabotaged the engine. Maureen sees straight through the lie. In the end, they decide that John and Don will pilot the ship to search for the Resolute. Having just lost the robot, Will is terrified to see his father risk his life again. To ensure safety, they run simulation training. Working in perfect sync, John and Don pass the test. With time running out, night falls as the two suit up and board the spacecraft. Maureen takes her place in mission control. Once everything is ready, the ship launches and ascends into the sky. Everyone watches in awe. Without gravity control, the increasing speed creates intense centrifugal force, causing John and Don to black out. After a short while, Maureen wakes them up. John and Don regain consciousness and choose not to vent gas while climbing, conserving energy. At the critical moment, they must manually open the valve to generate greater thrust. Everything goes according to plan, and the spacecraft quickly clears the atmosphere. However, they suddenly fly into noctilucent clouds, causing the ship to shake violently. However, no one knows that before the spacecraft launched, Smith met with Will. She claimed she knew how to fix the robot and that it could replace John as the pilot. Believing her, Will let Smith go. She immediately enters the control room and knocks Maureen unconscious, causing the spacecraft to explode midair. John is one of the pilots on that ship. Enraged, Will smashes nearby objects and accidentally breaks the stone the robot gave him. Will picks up the broken piece and notices a foul smell. After expert analysis, they discover it's actually a solid form of fuel, in simple terms, fossilized feces. Judy is disgusted, but this discovery means they finally have a way off the planet. For fuel-starved ships, this resource is invaluable. Jupiter ships convert waste into energy, meaning this material could solve their fuel shortage. They also discover that the waste comes from a creature at the top of the planet's food chain. The group enters a cave and is stunned to find massive reserves of biofuel, enough to power all the ships off the planet. As they prepare to collect it, Victor suddenly steps on something.
It's fresh.
Looking up, they realize a massive creature is living directly above them. They retreat to discuss and decide to quietly transport the biofuel out. Everyone quickly takes on a role. Everyone moves carefully, afraid to make a sound. At that moment, Will's radio suddenly crackles. Panicked, he shuts it off and realizes it's his father's signal. The good news is they're alive, but the bad news is the sound wakes the creature above. The massive creatures charge at them, sending everyone fleeing in terror. Near the crashed alien ship, Smith kidnaps Maureen and forces her to reveal how to awaken the robot. But Maureen truly knows nothing. Smith reassembles the robot's scattered parts, hoping to awaken it and make it her protector, but fails. Inside the alien spacecraft, they discover a charged gravity drive. Judy realizes the Resolute uses the same type of engine, meaning humanity didn't invent space travel, it was built by stealing alien technology. The alien attacks weren't random, they were attempts to reclaim what was theirs. Meanwhile, Judy searches for Maureen and tracks her location using the off-road vehicle's GPS. When Judy arrives, she finds Smith tying Maureen up. Smith knows that once back on the Resolute, she'll face human justice for her crimes. Desperate for the robot's protection, Smith accidentally kicks one of its arms aside. The arm touches the alien ship, unintentionally activating its remaining power. Sensing something strange, Smith approaches with a knife. The robot begins to react as damaged components slowly regenerate. Suddenly, a chicken appears in front of Smith. Seconds later, Judy attacks from behind and shocks her unconscious. Judy quickly frees Maureen, and the two escape in an off-road vehicle. Moments later, the robot stands directly in front of the vehicle. When they try to reverse, it holds them in place. Smith approaches, and the robot immediately issues a warning.
Danger, Dr. Smith.
A fragment of the spacecraft drifts through space, with John and Don trapped inside. As their suit oxygen runs low, they use the radio to send a distress signal. Back on the nameless planet, the survivors secure fuel and prepare their ships for departure. At that moment, a strange radio signal comes through. Using Morse code, Will tells John and Don that fuel has been found, restoring their hope. An off-road vehicle returns. Will runs toward it and sees Judy and Maureen safe, but Smith is with the robot, sending Will into shock.
Stop. I said stop.
Will is shoved to the ground and realizes that Smith has become the robot's new master. At that moment, a new signal comes through. Don has ignited oxidizer from the fuel lines to create heat, allowing a Jupiter ship to locate them. One by one, the Jupiter ships leave the planet and head back to the Resolute. Inside the ship, Will approaches the robot, holding something that puts it on alert. Will raises the ball they once played catch with, hoping to awaken the robot's memories. The robot studies it briefly, then coldly drops it to the floor. Will realizes the robot is no longer his friend. Heartbroken, he walks away. Volcanoes across the planet begin erupting, forcing everyone to evacuate immediately.
9, 8, 7, 6.
When the countdown ends, the Jupiter ships successfully ascend into the atmosphere. Once they reach orbit, Smith removes her helmet. It drops to the floor instead of floating. Everyone realizes something is wrong. Why does this ship have gravity? Unbeknownst to them, an alien gravity engine is hidden beneath the off-road vehicle. At the Resolute, Victor broadcasts a recall signal. All Jupiter ships return safely, except Maureen's Jupiter 2. Maureen's family receives the recall order, but due to a nearby black hole, the Resolute can only wait 1 hour. Meanwhile, John and Don continue drifting in space, burning oxidizer in the fuel lines to signal Jupiter 2. Maureen activates thermal radar to search, but the system immediately issues a warning.
Course correction required.
Hearing that fuel is insufficient, Smith refuses to let Maureen risk a rescue. Protected by the robot, she wants to abort the mission. Despite this, Maureen dives the ship toward them.
Warning, entry angle exceeding parameters.
Hearing the warning, the robot escorts Smith out of the control room, while sisters are also forced to leave. To protect Smith, the robot seals her inside a reinforced compartment. Maureen stabilizes the orbit and locks the compartment. Trapped inside, Smith orders the robot to open it, but it doesn't respond. Maureen explains it's the safest compartment, reinforced to withstand asteroid impacts. Desperate, Smith orders the robot to smash the glass, but Maureen ignores her, focused on rescuing the 2 men in space. Don finally ignites enough oxidizer to create a strong heat signature. Jupiter 2 locks onto their position. With fuel nearly gone, they retrieve a harpoon gun from storage and fire it, pulling John and Don into the ship's orbit. Smith finds a notebook and discovers the compartment release switch. She escapes, forcing Maureen to fire the harpoon gun to retreat, but the line can't reach John. Furious, Smith orders the robot to pursue them. The group retreats to the rear of the ship. Maureen hides the kids in the rover, Will stays out. The robot appears before Will. He tries to awaken its memories, but as it moves to attack, the ship's systems knock it back. Maureen rushes in. The robot gets back up to attack again, only to be struck once more. They suit up and secure themselves to the hull. The robot rises again. Maureen opens the hatch. The powerful suction stops it from advancing, though it's still dangerous. A cargo container slams into the robot, blasting it out into space. The group escapes the immediate danger. John and Don see the harpoon line retract. A shadow looms as they look up. The rear of the ship is torn open. An alien vessel appears. A hand grips the hull. The robot returns, accompanied by another alien. The alien restores the robot's memory. Its head turns red as it points toward the rover. Maureen rushes in but is thrown aside. Her visor cracks and she loses consciousness. The rover is attacked. The alien engine falls free, and Will's suit begins leaking oxygen. As the alien moves to attack Will and sees the engine, the robot recognizes him and immediately protects him. The engine rolls away. The robot looks at Will and repairs his suit. They recognize each other.
Friends. Will Robinson.
The alien attacks the robot. The robot looks at Will one last time, grabs the alien, and launches into space. The rover's glass cracks. With the rear hydraulics damaged, Will decides to go outside and fix it manually. Outside, Will strains to close the rear section. He tries to re-enter from another route, but pain from his injured hand makes him lose his grip, drifting into space. A man appears and catches Will. It's John. Using the harpoon, John is pulled back. Smith is the one who fired the shot that retrieved John and Don. John's family makes it back aboard, but the fuel is gone. Just as they fear drifting forever, hope appears. The Resolute doesn't abandon them. With Jupiter 2 out of fuel, the Resolute comes to their location. At that moment, the robot's strange signal returns. The alien engine spreads through the ship's systems. Control is lost as the trajectory shifts. A brilliant light erupts. The ship plunges into multicolored clouds and vanishes. Aboard the Resolute, everyone is stunned. Ahead of the Jupiter, 2 unknown planets appear, the same image the robot once drew. The alien creatures bring them to an unknown star system. With their fuel depleted, the group is forced to land in a strange ocean. Bioluminescent creatures glow beneath the surface. The air reeks of methane, and lightning constantly strikes the sea. To survive, they grow corn to deal with food shortages. However, the protective plastic covering is repeatedly torn apart by strong winds. During the day, they rely on specialized devices to generate power while constantly watching for sudden weather changes. This fragile routine lasts for 7 months, until a massive storm shatters the calm. One night, John discovers the cornfield's protective cover has been torn, allowing methane to flood in. Worried about the crops, he rushes out to fix it without wearing a protective suit. Without protection, John quickly becomes dizzy from the toxic gas and collapses in pain. Fortunately, Don spots him in time and drags him back. John survives, but the cornfield is badly damaged, costing them their only food source. To escape this world, the group is forced to come up with a new plan. Working together, they build a floating vessel on the ocean. Their plan is to head toward the lightning-filled waters to harvest electrical energy. As a former Navy officer, John takes command as captain. Unaware that a violent storm is approaching, Smith, locked in a compartment, is the first to sense something is wrong.
Come off the sails! They need to stop us now!
The vessel begins to shake violently and suddenly strikes a reef, becoming stuck. The situation worsens as the storm rapidly closes in. Will notices something moving underwater. Thinking it's the robot, he rushes over, only to find it's just plankton-like creatures. John suggests using their remaining energy to activate the ship for just 2 seconds. The idea sparks inspiration in Maureen. They deploy the ship's wings at the perfect moment, freeing themselves from the reef. At that instant, the storm hits, massive rock formations loom ahead, and the crew hurriedly pulls in the sails. Will is struck by the mast and nearly thrown overboard, but John manages to grab him just in time. John's suit begins leaking oxygen. After inhaling large amounts of methane, he becomes too disoriented to steer the vessel. Maureen suddenly remembers that Smith is locked away. Once Smith is released, towering rock walls appear ahead. Smith orders the sails raised, pushing the ship through the narrow gap at full speed. Will drives the rover to the opposite side to shift the vessel's center of gravity. Through perfect coordination, the vessel manages to clear the rocks at an extreme tilt. Once again, they pull off a miracle. The next day, they encounter rapidly moving waters ahead. Unaware it's a waterfall, John tries to turn back, but it's too late. Stepping outside, they're stunned to see a massive metallic structure below, seemingly connected to the lightning storms. To power the ship, they fly a kite into the lightning zone. The moment lightning strikes, the vessel instantly activates. Below, Don is dealing with the plankton when another creature attacks him. His leg is struck with searing pain, then goes numb. Don and Penny fall into the water together. Above, the others hear Penny screaming for help. Maureen rushes down, but at that moment the kite slips free. John runs toward it but can't grab it, barely managing to throw the tether around the mast. Maureen manages to pull Don out, but Penny is swept farther away by the current. Without hesitation, Maureen jumps in after her, only for both of them to be dragged over the waterfall. Fortunately, both of them survive. Standing atop the metallic structure, they stare in awe at the strange symbols etched across its surface, realizing they're trapped. John lowers the kite line to help Maureen climb up, unaware that a bolt has loosened. Just as he's about to grab the rope, he slips and falls, sending the mast crashing toward Maureen. They narrowly escape, but the kite is blown away by the wind, forcing them to come up with another plan. Worse still, lightning is approaching fast. They need a solution immediately. Will thinks of the robot, but it's not here. Will comes up with a way to protect them from lightning, a Faraday cage. Simply put, it's an enclosed metal structure that blocks electromagnetic fields, keeping anyone inside safe. They turn the rover into a Faraday cage, tie it with ropes, and lower it down. The vehicle descends slowly but stops halfway. The rope isn't long enough to reach Maureen. In the distance, lightning begins to form. With no time left, they have to climb back up another way. Maureen remembers the fallen mast and comes up with a perfect solution. They use the ropes to raise the mast with the rover, then climb inside the vehicle. The rover replaces the kite, acting as a conductor to channel electricity to the ship. When lightning strikes, the ship powers up instantly. Both the spacecraft and the rover lift into the air. The rover is scorched by lightning. John rushes over, opens the door, and finds both of them unharmed. At that moment, Will hears a strange sound coming from the alien engine and moves closer out of curiosity. A hand suddenly appears behind him.
Will, get down!
It's the robot's severed arm. To keep everyone safe, they store it inside a container. Back in orbit, they quietly admire the wonders of the alien world. Suddenly, the ship's systems detect something unexpected. Data analysis reveals that the Resolute has appeared nearby. After drifting through space for half a year, the Jupiter ship finally returns to the Resolute. The children excitedly run through the station. When they head to the cafeteria for food, they notice something strange. The station is completely deserted, in ruins. John immediately senses danger and orders the kids back to the Jupiter. John and Maureen decide to check the black box for clues. Inside, they hear chaotic audio before the signal cuts out, confirming that something attacked the Resolute. As they try to return to the Jupiter, red lights flash and bulkheads slam shut, separating the family. With no other option, they search for alternate routes to reunite at the cafeteria. All of this is orchestrated by Dr. Smith aboard the Jupiter. Smith removes her restraints, triggers the fire alarm to create chaos, and sneaks into the records room. She erases all evidence of her crimes and alters her identity to escape human justice. Elsewhere, Judy unexpectedly meets a young girl named Sam. Sam says the Resolute was attacked by aliens and that she's been alone after getting separated from her family. Judy plans to take Sam to the cafeteria, but suddenly discovers an alien hiding below. While in the cafeteria, Will and Penny sense something is wrong, something is approaching. They quickly hide under a table, barely daring to breathe. Peeking up, they're shocked to see a horse standing there. Before they can process it, an alien robot enters the cafeteria. Sensing danger, Judy warns the family. On her way to the cafeteria, Maureen notices clear signs that a major battle once took place. It becomes clear that the Resolute's alien engine has been stolen, leaving the ship nothing more than an empty shell. Aboard the Jupiter, Don is watching when he suddenly spots a red light moving toward the cafeteria. Sensing danger, the horse panics. Penny rushes over to calm it, and only after some time does it settle down. Suddenly, a food tray crashes to the floor with a loud bang. Hearing the noise, the alien robot crawls toward it. Will and Penny quickly hide behind a storage cabinet. In front of them is a wounded alien robot crawling across the floor. The two are so terrified they barely breathe. With danger closing in, John decides to draw the robot away by loudly singing his favorite song. The robot crawls toward the sound, only to find a radio. John and Don trap it inside a room, allowing the family to finally reunite. At that moment, the ship Faranos arrives. An armed team approaches. It's Ben, the deputy commander, who tracked their signal and came to retrieve them. John tells Ben that the alien robot has been contained.
You didn't trap it, you put it back.
Ben reveals that humans have secretly been in contact with aliens for a long time. The robot, known as the Scarecrow, has always existed aboard the Resolute. All the secrets lie behind that steel door. The mystery of how the ship travels between planets is finally revealed. Its speed and technology far exceed human imagination. It all began with an alien ship crashing on Earth. Humans seized its engine and captured the alien pilot. They discovered the alien robot was vulnerable to a specific radio frequency, which they used to control it. The only way to power the alien engine is through the robot itself. That's how the Resolute was able to travel through space for so many years. When the aliens discovered the truth, they reclaimed the engine, leaving the Resolute immobile and hollow. Maureen tells Ben that their Jupiter still carries another alien engine, which they plan to use to repair the Resolute. Will sees the Scarecrow locked in a cage and notices its longing for freedom. He approaches to speak with it. Ben tells Will that it's just a scarecrow, meant to be used by humans. Will disagrees. He believes robots can form bonds and emotions, and that to befriend them, humans must first understand their needs. The Scarecrow slowly crawls out. Will hands it the robot arm, and it quickly reconnects it to its body. The Scarecrow notices the wound on Will's hand from the earlier attack. Will even gives the robot a toy, but the Scarecrow seems angered by it, smashes the toy, and lunges at Will. Fortunately, Ben activates the radio frequency in time, freezing the Scarecrow in place. The Scarecrow is forced back into its cage. Maureen scolds Ben for being careless. To answer Will's questions, Maureen takes him to the cockpit, where he once again sees the Scarecrow imprisoned.
We may never be friends, but you don't belong in a box.
The Scarecrow raises its sharp claws, pointing toward the controls. Will notices a familiar handprint, the same place they had once been together. Will presses his hand against the mark. Suddenly, visions of another planet flood his mind. In that moment, Will realizes where his true robot friend is. The three of them pilot the Jupiter to that planet, hoping to find the robot and repair the Resolute. They enter a region beyond the planet's safety perimeter. Since the rover can't reach it, they choose the most primitive method, walking across a 100-kilometer desert. As night falls, they set up a protective perimeter and gather around a campfire. Unseen danger begins to close in. The horses sense the threat. Numerous glowing eyes appear in the darkness as the perimeter device starts to flicker. Maureen quickly reactivates the device, but interference causes it to shut down again. A pack of predators emerges. When the barrier fails, they immediately charge. Luckily, the barrier reactivates just in time, holding them back. The predators circle, waiting for the shield to fail again. When the red light goes out, the predators surge forward until a blinding red glow suddenly erupts, forcing them back. The robot appears before them. Will rushes forward and embraces it. The robot leads Will into a cave filled with strange drawings, as if telling a story. Will realizes the drawings depict his own journey. They share a deep connection, able to sense each other's thoughts. Suddenly, Will notices a wound on the robot's hand and senses something is wrong. The robot before him isn't his true friend, it's the alien robot that attacked them before, now in disguise. Will signals his mother not to let the robot board the ship. Maureen doesn't understand his warning. Sensing their suspicion, the robot reveals its true form. Will tries to escape but is caught by the robot. Amid the chaos, Ben slips away. The robot blocks the cave entrance. It becomes clear its true target has always been Will. Why it lured Will here remains a mystery. Will begs it to release his mother, but the robot prepares to attack them both. At the critical moment, Ben returns with the radio frequency device and subdues the robot. Will steps outside to search for the robot. The exact vision he sensed earlier appears before his eyes. Overwhelmed, he slips and falls into a deep pit, crying out in panic. At that moment, a familiar figure appears and pulls him into its arms.
Robinson.
As the three escort the robot back to the Jupiter, they encounter three predators stalking prey. The creatures charge toward a grazing alien buffalo herd, sending it scattering in panic. The robot hears thunderous vibrations approaching as the herd stampedes toward them and immediately issues a warning. The stampeding herd terrifies the horses. Will is knocked to the ground, the reins pinned by falling rocks. He yells for the robot to leave, but the robot tries to save the horse. As the herd charges directly at the robot, its face turns red. The red glow is quickly swallowed by a cloud of dust. Will anxiously stares into the dust, then exhales in relief when he sees they're safe. The robot protects the horse because Will once told it that horses are their friends. The Jupiter arrives just in time, but sadly the horse collapses. It had been injured earlier, and the wound became infected beyond saving. The robot imitates Will, gently stroking the horse, then it picks up a stone and helps Will bury it. The moment deeply surprises Ben. He has never seen a robot behave this way. Back on the Jupiter, they plan to transport the robot to the Resolute using a containment unit. Unbeknownst to Will, Ben had secretly received orders from his superior, Hastings, before searching for the robot. The original plan was to subdue the robot and turn it into a tool to control the ship. But after everything he witnessed, Ben changes his mind and allows the robot to return with them to the Resolute. When the robot appears, the crew watches it with fear and suspicion. They enter the alien engine chamber. Will gives the command. The robot hesitates, but after Will pleads, it activates the engine. With the robot's help, repairs are completed quickly. They plan to install the engine and restart the Resolute. John realizes that ever since the Resolute received a strange transmission, stranded colonists on nearby planets stopped receiving supplies. Their distress calls have gone unanswered. With Dr. Smith's help, John sneaks into the data vault and uncovers an alien transmission. They discover Hastings' hidden agenda. With oxygen running low and water contaminated, he plans to abandon the surrounding colonies. The Robinson family learns the truth and begins planning to stop him. As the alien engine is installed and the ship prepares to power up, Hastings waits in the background. His plan is to return directly to Alpha, abandoning the colonists and much of the crew. Driven by ambition, Hastings refuses to risk the Resolute to search for water and air. After learning the truth, the Robinson family takes action. They rally everyone aboard who has loved ones about to be abandoned, seize control of the bridge and engines, and halt the launch sequence. After Will removes the alien from the ship, Maureen searches for a solution to the air and water shortage. She identifies a massive gas planet nearby, composed mainly of hydrogen, helium, and ammonia, with violent storms. Ammonia, once processed, can purify the ship's contaminated resources, but using small Jupiter ships would take too long, so they decide to take the Resolute itself. That decision means flying straight into the planet's deadly storms. At the same time, the structural truss along Bay F has already been damaged, making the mission even more dangerous. If it fails, the ship could be torn apart. Maureen appears to have a plan to deal with the risk. With everything prepared, a highly dangerous mission begins. Bay F endures enormous stress and begins to deform. The robot acts like a master welder, reinforcing and sealing cracks in real time, astonishing everyone. The ship successfully reaches a safer zone of the gas planet and activates its rear engines to begin harvesting gas. Hastings realizes his plan has failed, but he still has one final card to play. The ship's safety system was designed by Maureen earlier to allow Will, who hadn't passed the tests, to board. She made a deal with a mysterious contact, not knowing it was Hastings. Hastings exploits that coding loophole, disables the safety systems, and opens the final bay doors, cutting off oxygen and halting ammonia collection. When the final bay opens, Ron rushes everyone out, but the opposite door begins closing. Ron and another crew member are trapped inside. With control lost, those outside can't reopen the doors. Meanwhile, anomalies begin appearing on the bridge. Maureen realizes the crisis is her fault for leaking information. She pilots a repair craft herself to manually seal the bay. After a difficult struggle, she finally seals the bay, saving Ron and his partner. At the same time, with systems altered, Hastings regains control and orders the captain to return to Alpha. The captain firmly refuses. She restores the gas collection system and resumes water purification. At that moment, the robot senses something wrong and issues a warning.
Danger, friend.
The robot finds Scarecrow trapped in a cage, still being electro-shocked by security. Scarecrow is revealed to be its own kind. The robot instantly switches to combat mode and knocks out 2 guards. It tears open the door and frees Scarecrow. The light on Scarecrow's face dims, a sign that it's close to dying. At this moment, the robot begins to show grief. It wants to leave, taking its friend with it.
We need you. You need to help us get home.
Wanting to save Scarecrow, who has been imprisoned and tortured by humans until near death, the robot asks Will for help. After hesitation, Will agrees. At the same time, Hastings learns that Scarecrow has been freed and orders a search to recapture it. Meanwhile, Maureen is outside the Resolute in a repair ship, running low on fuel. John launches another repair craft to help her, unaware that Hastings is covering everything up. As John and Maureen try to return to the Resolute, they realize Hastings has locked the bay. He orders acceleration, violently ejecting them. The two are separated from the Resolute. Maureen tries to contact Judy, but the signal breaks up. They can only chase after the ship. To avoid Hastings, Will hides in the ship's scrapyard. The robot points to a symbol on its friend's hand to show where they must go, but Will doesn't understand. Then it draws a horse on the wall. Will finally realizes it's the Amber Planet, where they first found the robot. However, escaping surveillance cameras, reaching the Jupiter, and traveling to the Amber Planet is a serious challenge. Will recruits Judy and Sam. They devise a diversion plan. Sam deliberately appears on camera to distract security while the others head to the vehicle bay. Judy and Penny boldly drive the rover down the corridor, immediately drawing the guards' attention. Suddenly, the bay doors slam shut and the rover crashes to a stop. Hastings and security arrive thinking they've captured Scarecrow, only to find a single robot arm. Meanwhile, Will gets the robot onto the Jupiter. Ben intercepts him, exposes the kid's plan, and demands Scarecrow using a radio frequency device. Will desperately explains that the robot deserves trust. Ben refuses to believe him, and security restrains the robot. When the robot speaks Ben's name, he's stunned. That plea finally reaches him, and he decides to save Scarecrow. Refusing to hurt humans, the robot is restrained. Will has no choice but to leave with Ben for the Amber Planet. Ben pilots the ship away, while the robot is caged by Hastings. Outside, as John and Maureen chase the Resolute, they witness something extraordinary. A massive eye emerges from thick clouds. A giant fish-like creature swims past and slams them away with its tail. They're rapidly pulled toward the gas planet. Thanks to expert piloting, John manages to grab Maureen. They survive, and the Resolute completes its ammonia collection and prepares to return. By now, the repair ship is almost out of fuel. To make it back to the Resolute, John and Maureen have no choice but to take a desperate risk. Violent storms rage ahead. At the same time, Ben takes Scarecrow to the Amber Planet for treatment and says goodbye, just as lightning strikes. When Will regains consciousness, he sees red glowing lights outside and senses danger closing in. A group of alien creatures is charging toward him. Will immediately sends out a distress signal over the radio. Meanwhile, the colonists' Jupiter ships are returning to the Resolute when they spot 2 vessels approaching from different directions. The lead ship is a Jupiter, followed closely by an alien craft in pursuit. In the emergency, Hastings storms the bridge, intending to activate the alien engine and return the Resolute to Alpha, leaving Will behind. He uses a radio frequency device to control the robot. Since Will hasn't returned, the robot refuses to comply. Hastings immediately increases the signal's intensity. John returns to the Resolute, hears the engines powering up, and rushes to the bridge. He takes down a guard outside but is blocked again inside. Losing patience, Hastings cranks the device to maximum, causing the robot to start losing consciousness. With Don's help, John overpowers all the guards. Maureen rushes in with a stun baton, takes down Hastings, and ends his plan. They rescue the robot, and fortunately it isn't seriously harmed. When the Jupiter returns, Will is aboard, and the family is finally reunited. Ben is unfortunately struck by lightning during the storm. As they prepare to activate the alien engine and leave, the robot suddenly issues a warning. Danger. John explains that if they return to Alpha, the alien ships will follow, causing a catastrophic disaster for everyone there. They have no choice but to stay and stop the aliens. Maureen proposes a bold plan. She decides they'll stay and wait for the aliens to board the ship. Everyone splits up, gathering all radio signal sources to create a powerful electromagnetic field. Using the alien engine as bait, they lure the creatures into a prepared trap. At this point, the alien ship draws dangerously close. An alien craft pulls alongside the human ship. John and Judy wait with the alien engine. When the alien ship's doors open, a blinding light floods in, damaging the surrounding structure. Waves of alien creatures crawl aboard. The silver ones stride confidently inside. The surveillance cameras are completely jammed. John and Judy deliberately draw the aliens' attention with the engine. Maureen stands ready with the remote control, waiting for the right moment. As the aliens swarm into the chamber like a flood, everyone quickly retreats. At the final second, Maureen hits the trigger, but with insufficient power, the aliens aren't destroyed, only temporarily immobilized. The situation worsens as hundreds of alien ships appear outside, all competing for the alien engine capable of opening space rifts. The humans are powerless to stop them. After discussion, they decide to move the alien engine to a Jupiter. With limited oxygen, only the children can board the Jupiter and leave, while the adults stay behind to evacuate supplies. At that moment, the robot senses danger. The immobilized aliens are slowly moving closer, trying to sever the cables. Maureen carefully reroutes the cables, but another sharp claw is closing in. At the same time, aliens outside begin forcing open the hull, sending panic through the crew. As Maureen struggles, Smith dons a spacesuit and volunteers to go outside to protect the cables. Smith enters the external bay, facing countless aliens. Carefully moving forward, she successfully reroutes the cables. But the situation remains dire. Another claw moves to cut the cable. Too late for escape, Smith closes her eyes and prays. Maureen sees the spacesuit hurled away. In the end, Smith accomplishes something that earns everyone's respect. As the aliens begin to regain movement, everyone must evacuate immediately. The aliens rush toward the Jupiter. As the robot activates the alien engine, it senses danger and tries to go out to stop the aliens. Will holds it back and tells it to keep opening the rift. As the aliens approach, Will tries to reason with them.
Will Robinson.
You know who I am.
Will attempts to persuade them to coexist with humans, but the aliens prepare to attack. At that moment, another alien robot appears and strikes down the attacker. It's Scarecrow, and Will recognizes it immediately. Penny pulls Will away. Scarecrow holds back the other aliens, preventing them from reaching the Jupiter. A fierce battle erupts among the alien machines. In the end, the few cannot overcome the many. The alien ships retreat, taking their forces with them. To buy time, John and Maureen steer the Resolute toward nearby space debris. As the robot activates the alien engine to open the rift, John and Maureen fail to reach the escape pod and are left behind. In a moment of despair, Don pilots the rescue craft back for them. A blinding light erupts as the space rift opens. An alien ship follows closely as the vessel nears collision. The alien ship crashes into debris and is destroyed. Don escapes in the rescue craft. As the rift snaps shut, Will's group successfully reaches a new planet. But they quickly realize something is wrong. The planet isn't Alpha. It turns out they followed a different signal and ended up somewhere entirely unknown. Amid the dense asteroid field, the ship Fortuna suddenly appears. Its commander turns out to be Judy's father. Judy boards the ship to investigate and is shocked to find it intact, with systems still functioning. What really happened here remains a mystery. As Judy checks the flight logs for answers, she senses something approaching. It's a deceased astronaut drifting nearby. Elsewhere, the Jupiter's engines suddenly malfunction. Two small asteroids collide and are hurled toward the ship. The ship engages emergency autopilot and prepares for landing. With the tether snapped, Judy is forced to return.
Gotcha.
Before them lies a small valley with Earth-like conditions, cornfields and farming tools everywhere. They've been stranded here for 349 days, still holding on to hope of returning to Alpha. They discover deposits of pure titanium. The kids begin smelting it to repair the engines, but the supply is still insufficient. The ship issues an asteroid warning. The kids rush into a cave for shelter. Fortunately, the meteors burn up upon entering the atmosphere. Worse still, forecasts show a small asteroid will impact in just days. They must fix the ship and leave as soon as possible. Earlier analysis reveals a massive titanium deposit in the valley ahead, about 3 kilometers above sea level. The robot failed to reach it before, so this time they decide to attempt it themselves. At the sheer cliff, Will spots an insect crawling from a crevice. Watching the kids risk their lives, the robot feels guilty. Smith senses that the robot is hiding something. Night falls, and they pitch hanging tents along the cliff like bats. Despite the danger, they manage to sleep. The next morning, they resume climbing. VJ slips and falls. Judy rushes down to help. With an injured arm, VJ must return with another member. The remaining 3 finally reach the titanium and begin collecting it. A falling rock is blasted upward by air currents, keeping them on edge. A stunning sunset fills the sky before night quickly falls. As they prepare camp, Will hears strange noises outside. The cliff begins to collapse, sending them into panic. Glowing insects emerge, eating away at the rock. Worse, the collapse leaves them stranded far below the titanium deposit. To reach the titanium, Will devises a bold plan. Using the powerful updrafts, they tear the tent into a makeshift parachute. All 3 jump, lifted upward by the currents. The plan works. They retrieve the titanium and return safely. Through Will's notes, Smith discovers that a large amount of titanium is missing. She realizes the robot secretly dumped it into the river. The robot did it to protect Will, not wanting him to face more dangers caused by alien technology. Back on the ground, everyone begins missing their loved ones. The robot, uncertain of its true purpose, also seems lost and confused. At that moment, blazing meteors streak across the sky, crashing somewhere on the planet. The robot senses that something is calling to it. Following that pull, it travels through a narrow valley and reaches a cliff, seemingly the robot's home. On another planet, a group scavenges for useful supplies left behind after the Resolute crashed. Facing powerful alien creatures, they camouflage themselves. Activating any electronic device would immediately give away their position. They split up to search for supplies, turning on flashlights just long enough to extract batteries, even finding an intact crate of food. John senses danger approaching. The aliens are sweeping the area, hunting for humans. He immediately signals everyone to get down. One man, overwhelmed by fear, accidentally switches on his flashlight and is instantly spotted and killed by the alien. With the Resolute destroyed, they are forced to build a temporary space station near a star. The star's intense heat keeps the aliens away, but it also forces them to endure extreme conditions. To recover the missing children, they must come up with a new plan. Meanwhile, on another planet, Judy stumbles upon the Fortuna, missing for 20 years. Inside, she finds the ship fully functional, with the entire crew still in cryosleep. Judy discovers her father, Grant, among them. As she tries to wake him, the cryopod malfunctions.
Wake sequence malfunction.
No.
Judy opens the pod and sees Grant's heart rate dropping. Using her medical training, she performs CPR and improvises a defibrillator. After several shocks, Grant finally regains consciousness. Judy tells him about events in the future, but doesn't reveal that she is his daughter. With the cryopods failing, the two decide to load them onto an old rover from 20 years ago and leave. As they talk, a sandstorm strikes, the cryopod restraints loosen, and Judy climbs up to secure them. At the same time, meteors begin hurtling straight toward them. In a life-or-death moment, Judy secures the pod, but immediately after, a massive meteor slams nearby, blasting a cloud of debris toward them. The two fall into a pit and narrowly survive. They make it back to the valley, where Will realizes the robot has been missing for days. Before them lies a strange rock. Touching it makes their hair stand on end with static electricity. They realize something is off. Smith arrives, suggesting this place may conceal alien technology. To find the robot, they decide to venture deeper into the cave. Strange symbols and drawings cover the cave walls. Smith keeps watch outside for the kids. Will notices footprints on the ground, footprints that look exactly like the robot's. Penny panics and urges them to leave. At that moment, the cave door suddenly slams shut. Smith immediately senses danger. Trapped inside, they frantically search for a way out, but find nothing. They are completely stuck. Elsewhere, Maureen pilots Jupiter 2, preparing to enter the alien nest. To return to Alpha, 2 conditions must be met: an alien engine and a robot. They search for fragments of Scarecrow to rebuild him, but find nothing. Trapped in the cave, Will and Penny see something opening the door. Terrified, they soon realize it's Smith coming to rescue them. Before they can celebrate, a robot suddenly appears before them. It wants to take them somewhere. When they arrive, everyone is stunned by what they see. This is the birthplace of the robots. The robot leads Will to the cockpit of an alien ship and reveals a map of the universe. The robot detects a nearby planet and identifies Jupiter 2. Suddenly, a red signal flashes on the map.
Danger.
On Jupiter 2, another alien robot has boarded the ship. Maureen quickly realizes something is wrong. John plans to use the radio frequency device to capture the robot. Everyone coordinates their moves. Maureen approaches the second robot, lures it inside, and slams the doors shut, trapping it between them. As John prepares to subdue it, the robot's chest lights up, and Will's voice comes through. Maureen stops John, only then do they realize the robot means no harm. They communicate through the second robot. It came to help them. Will updates his parents, but the signal soon breaks up and cuts out. Penny and Smith decide to return to the valley. Curious about what happened here, Will fires a signal flare to investigate. It's clear the aliens are gone. The second robot doesn't know its creators are dead. It still follows its original programming. As Will collects samples, he discovers alien remains. They have long fingers, tall frames, and 4 arms. The robots were clearly modeled after these beings. Continuing deeper, Will finds a vast pit with no visible bottom. He fires another signal flare downward. Will is stunned to see thousands, perhaps millions, of alien skeletons below. This place was clearly the site of a devastating massacre. Will slips through a narrow crevice and spots a circular control panel. He touches it, nothing happens. It likely requires an alien's fingerprint. Will retrieves an alien hand and places it on the control. This time, it works. Each touch triggers a strange sound. The echoing noise causes rocks above to begin collapsing. Judy tries to contact Will via radio but hears only strange noises. She can't reach him at all. Smith suggests taking Judy to the cave to look for Will. Will is still fascinated by the control panel. When he activates the final button, the cave ceiling begins to collapse, forcing him to run for his life. Judy's group arrives just in time. As the door begins to close, Smith jams it open with a metal rod, saving Will at the last second. The group rushes back to the ship as an asteroid approaches. The ship switches from safe mode to protective lockdown and can't take off. They are forced to disable safe mode so Grant, Judy's father, can pilot manually. With limited oxygen and Grant now on board, the crew exceeds capacity. Smith is placed into cryosleep. To ensure she'll be awakened later, Smith makes a deal with Will. The ship launches into space, weaving through countless drifting asteroids. After several sharp maneuvers by Grant, they near the edge of the asteroid belt when the computer issues a warning.
Warning. Flight path compromised.
Grant ignores the computer, confident in his skills. Judy objects, trusting the safety system her mother designed, and activates autopilot. With the computer's help, the ship safely clears the asteroid belt. On another planet, John's group launches a new plan to steal a second alien engine, assisted by Robot 2. John and Don drive vehicles to draw the aliens away while Maureen waits for Robot 2 to infiltrate the ship and steal the engine. At first, the plan works perfectly. Robot 2 defeats the guards and retrieves the engine, thrilling Maureen. Suddenly, the aliens stop chasing them. The ground splits open, revealing more aliens. It was all a trap. Robot 2 tries to fight back but is restrained, dropping the engine. Another alien steps forward. The alien leader issues a command to Robot 2. Robot 2 resists and is forcibly overridden. It's dragged away, and John's entire plan collapses. Elsewhere, the aliens begin controlling Robot 2, and the robot aboard Jupiter is affected as well. The robot aboard Jupiter opens a star map, searching for something. The crew doesn't realize the aliens are searching for humanity's location through Robot 2's memories. The robot issues a warning. Will realizes his parents are being targeted. Robot 2, their ally, has been destroyed. The robot mourns the loss of its friend. John detects an alien ship approaching. This time, escape may be impossible. To protect the children and the remaining survivors, they decide to erase all records and data connected to the children and Planet Alpha. Soon after, alien ships arrive. Everyone braces themselves, silently preparing for the worst. Just as hope seems lost, energy levels spike elsewhere. A Jupiter ship appears, and the aliens immediately detect it. The aliens turn and pursue Will. Seeing the children in danger, John orders Jupiter 2 to intercept them. Suddenly, Judy's voice cuts in.
Belay that order.
Judy.
Judy, what the hell are you doing? Are you crazy?
They realize the ship the kids are flying isn't a Jupiter at all. The Fortuna, missing for 20 years, suddenly reappears. It's a diversion. Everyone has been transferred to the Fortuna, while the Jupiter runs on autopilot as bait. The family is finally reunited. There's no time for emotion. Time is running out. They must leave immediately. Will comes up with another plan. He goes to Smith's cryo chamber and tells the robot he'll stay behind, believing the alien's true target is him. Will wakes Smith and explains his plan. As the space rift opens, Jupiter ships begin traveling through it toward planet Alpha. The aliens chase the Jupiter ships, only to realize inside the rift that they've been tricked. As Maureen's family prepares to depart, they discover Smith is alive, shocking everyone. Will plans to sneak aboard the Fortuna, using Smith as a distraction. Smith explains how she survived, drawing everyone's focus. Will slips onto the destined ship. Suddenly, the ship shakes violently, an alien vessel appears overhead. The aliens have called for reinforcements. To stop them from entering the rift, Will broadcasts the alien sounds he recorded at their base.
Is that sound coming from them?
The aliens are affected and begin losing control. Two ships collide, but Will's plan ultimately fails. Will returns to the Jupiter, and they decide to rush through the space rift immediately. An alien ship continues chasing them. To prevent invasion, the robot redirects them to a different destination. The other Jupiter ships successfully reach Alpha, only then do they realize Jupiter 2 is missing. Jupiter 2 is descending toward an unknown planet, rapidly losing control. They are forced to activate the emergency escape system. Unfortunately, Maureen's and Judy's escape systems malfunction. Danger is imminent. A spacecraft crashes onto an unknown planet. Alien creatures begin hunting them. Judy tries to use the radio to contact the others, but Maureen stops her. Activating any signal would expose their location. While assessing the damage, Maureen discovers a deadly danger. The ejection seat partially activated during the crash but failed. The launcher beneath her seat is shattered and still under pressure, meaning she's sitting on a live bomb. Any movement could trigger an explosion. At that moment, the ship begins shaking violently, as if it's still falling. A thick, glue-like substance drips from above. Something is clearly clinging to the outside of the ship. It turns out a giant slug-like creature is swallowing the spacecraft. With danger imminent, they try venting fuel to use pressure to push it away, but it fails. The creature's massive mouth reaches the cockpit. They're seconds from being devoured. Judy creates a chemical designed to induce vomiting and attempts to inject it into the creature, but its flesh is too thick and tough. The needle can't penetrate. The plan fails. The ship is swallowed whole. With no other option, Judy rushes to storage, searching for anything useful. She finds an extremely durable container, and comes up with a bold plan. First, Judy uses freezing gas to seal the cracks in the ejection mechanism, buying Maureen a few precious seconds to move. Once ready, both of them climb into the container. An explosion erupts. The creature convulses and spits the spacecraft out. They escape death by a hair's breadth. Meanwhile, John and Penny successfully eject and land safely. They decide to head toward the crashed Fortuna to search for the alien engine and the robot. Upon arrival, they find the ship shattered into fragments from the collision. Inside, they locate the trapped robot. Penny pulls out her familiar tools and starts cutting through the debris. Unbeknownst to them, a worm-like creature inside the ship causes exposed wires to spark. The robot immediately issues a warning. Danger. The aliens detect them. John and Penny panic and shut down all power. Penny accidentally discovers footage showing aliens boarding the Fortuna 20 years ago and immediately tells John. John grabs the data drive. They must rescue the robot and leave immediately. Elsewhere, Will and Smith are stuck in a tree. Will's bag is snagged on a branch across the trunk. He reaches for it and nearly falls. Smith discovers something strange in the bag, the remains of an alien creature Will found in the cave. Will believes it could change the aliens, and he's determined to retrieve it. Just as Will is about to grab the bag, it falls. At that exact moment, the robot suddenly appears. The group realizes they must quickly reunite with the Jupiter ship. Elsewhere, Don and his chicken tumble into a dense bush. The chicken starts pecking at an earthworm, and Don rushes over to stop its foolish behavior, only to step into a mud pit. His boot slowly sinks into the muck, and the chicken disappears from sight. Determined to find his chicken, Don chases after it. The ground is riddled with strange, steaming holes. Just as he calls out, danger strikes. An alien creature appears right in front of him. With no escape, it raises its razor-sharp claws. Terrified, Don can only pray. At that moment, a red light flashes, scanning him. Don pulls out his knife but is instantly flung aside and knocked unconscious. The chicken reappears, seemingly trying to wake him. Back aboard the ship, the aliens emit the same red scanning light, as if they've discovered something. The footage shows an alien scanning humans inside cryo-sleep pods. This is humanity's first recorded contact with aliens, recovered from the data drive of the Fortuna, which disappeared 20 years ago. However, all flight logs and data were erased, leaving only the security footage. No one knows why the aliens scanned humans. When Don returns, he tells everyone what happened. He encountered the alien in a muddy area, it didn't harm him, only scanned his body and then let him go. At that moment, Maureen realizes the true danger. The aliens scan humans to locate the planet they come from. Humanity now lives on Alpha, but Grant had never been there 20 years ago. Through scanning alone, the aliens can pinpoint a person's location on the cosmic map and access their entire past. This is extremely dangerous. With humanity's location exposed, they must repair the ship and leave immediately. After hearing this, Will comes up with a different plan to stop the alien invasion. He decides to take the remains of the alien who created the robots, hoping to persuade them to coexist peacefully with humans. The robot tries to stop Will, fearing for his safety. Will tells the robot to stay behind and protect his family. He'll face the aliens alone. The robot knows this mission is extremely dangerous, but Will's resolve leaves it no choice. Will drives off in the rover, blasting music at full volume to draw the alien robot's attention. Aboard the ship, everyone realizes Will is gone. They find a recorded farewell message he left behind. With no time to hesitate, they launch the ship to stop Will's plan. The alien robots locate Will, while the others desperately search for him. At that moment, Will's robot begins recalling everything that happened when it was trapped in the cave. This is exactly why the other alien robots are searching for Will. They want to know how he managed to alter a robot's original programming. If they learn that secret, humans will no longer be able to control them. Will's negotiation officially begins. The yellow alien robot orders the silver one to stand down. Will tries to persuade them, saying that robots and humans can become true friends. Will takes out the remains of their creator, telling them they no longer have to obey orders. The alien robot examines the bones. Will asks if it feels sad knowing its creator is dead.
Do you know how they died?
Danger, Will Robinson.
At that moment, John finds Will as the ship prepares to land. The alien robot suddenly attacks. Will is stabbed through the chest by a sharp claw and collapses. Will is rushed aboard for emergency treatment. Overcome with grief, John lashes out at the robot, punching it in rage, unaware of how deeply the robot is suffering as well. Will's bleeding won't stop, forcing them to return to Alpha immediately. Before more alien robots arrive, they launch the ship. Misunderstood and heartbroken, the robot finds comfort only from Smith. After she calms it down, the robot prepares to activate the engine. The ship rockets into space. At the same time, the alien vessels head toward the human world. Two space rifts open simultaneously, different paths, same destination, Alpha. One ship lands on Alpha. Will is rushed to the hospital. Fearing public panic, John asks the robot to remain aboard. Thanks to timely treatment, Will survives. They report to authorities that alien robots may be planning an invasion of Alpha. The situation is dire. Humanity has focused solely on technological advancement, neglecting planetary defenses. If war breaks out, they stand little chance. Strangely, no alien robots appear after their return. Maureen discovers something odd. The planet's energy output far exceeds its actual needs. John remembers their former leader, Hastings. They visit him in prison and warn him about the impending invasion. Hastings admits he secretly built a planetary electromagnetic defense grid. But only Hastings knows the activation code. He demands freedom and reinstatement in exchange. With no alternatives, they agree. John goes to Hastings' home to retrieve the code. He senses something approaching outside. When he returns inside, it's already too late. The guards and Hastings are dead. In Hastings' hand lies a mysterious piece of paper. Maureen still doesn't understand the meaning of the writing on the paper. At that moment, Grant uncovers a crucial clue. He tells Maureen that 20 years ago, the Fortuna was never sent on a standard exploration mission. It turns out that over 20 years ago, scientists discovered a space rift. No one knew what it was, so the Fortuna was secretly sent through it. This explains why there is no mission data on its hard drive. The recovered message was encoded using HXSG, a voice-based cipher tied to Hastings, but now, Hastings is dead. Through discussion, they find another way to activate the defense system. Maureen believes that Ben, once Hastings' closest aide, must also know the password. By analyzing old recordings of Ben's voice, they extract the right phrases and successfully activate the electromagnetic defense grid. At that moment, the alien robots detect the electromagnetic field and move to sabotage the power supply. Don arrives looking for the robot and discovers Judy's group attempting to stop the invasion. Judy is quickly spotted by the alien robots. With danger imminent, the robot appears. Surprisingly, the two robots don't fight. Will's robot has learned how to think for itself. Just when everyone thinks they're safe, the city's power suddenly cuts out, the electromagnetic defense system shuts down. An alien ship is preparing to invade Earth. To counter it, they reroute power from spacecraft to restart the defense grid. As the system nears activation, a new threat appears. The alien ship accelerates, trying to land before the grid fully activates. The alien ship's roar disrupts radio signals, debris rains down, blocking evacuation routes for the children. The alien robots rise one by one, everyone retreats. Will notices something strange. The robots look like they're searching for something. Will spots the alien engine lying in a corner. Suddenly, he understands why an alien was killed by the very robot he helped change. The alien engine doesn't just enable interstellar travel, it holds immense destructive power. If detonated, it could destroy an entire planet. To stop the alien robots from claiming the engine, Will assigns Penny the task. As Penny tries to move it, someone appears behind her, Judy. Together, they prepare to carry it away. Suddenly, a sharp claw appears. Terrified, they turn to see an alien robot crushed by debris, unable to move. The red light on its face dims. It's dying. It seems to be begging Penny for help. When Judy calls out to her, Penny is about to leave, but after an inner struggle, she turns back to help the alien robot. She lifts the wreckage, the robot crawls out, finds its lower half, and the two parts quickly reconnect. It raises its sharp claws. Penny trembles in fear, but it doesn't attack. Something miraculous happens. The alien robot transforms, taking on the same form as Will's robot. The children step closer, stunned. A single act of kindness has changed the alien robot's programming. As Judy carries the engine, an alien robot spots her. In desperation, she grabs a rock, ready to strike, while the robot prepares to attack. Suddenly, something appears behind Judy, forcing the robot to retreat. A group of transformed robots now stands beside the humans. To reclaim the engine, the reprogrammed robots strike back. A battle between robots erupts. Outnumbered, the transformed robots are eventually overwhelmed and defeated. John drives the rover to move the engine, but alien robots spot them. The group races into the ship as the robots close in. Within moments, the robots climb onto the ship. In a desperate move, Don uses the Faraday cage principle, channeling energy outward to create a powerful electric field around the ship. Anything that gets close is blasted away, but if the ship runs out of fuel, the defense will fail. Time is running out. At that moment, the Jupiter arrives beside Will. The robot brings him aboard. To end the war, Will decides to go to the alien robot's homeworld. With Dr. Smith's help, Will pilots the ship through the rift to the robot's planet. Still injured, Will is weak. The robot takes on the role of negotiator, drawing everything it and Will have been through onto the rock walls. But the other robots don't understand. One by one, they walk away. The plan fails. The robot carries Will outside and places him within a metal ring. Thunder roars as a storm approaches. The robot places its hand on Will's chest. It shields Will with its own body. Amid lightning and violent winds, the robot is struck and disintegrates into ash. When Will wakes, he's devastated. The robot is gone. Smith tells him it's disappeared, but Will can still feel its presence. Back on the ship, Will realizes he's fully healed. Scans reveal tiny fragments of the robot within his heart. He still doesn't understand its final words. Suddenly, an alien signal echoes outside. Will realizes it's a command. The robot's sacrifice has changed the others. As Maureen's ship runs low on fuel, alien robots swarm the hull and break inside. John and Maureen try to load the engine onto a rover to escape, but the vehicle flips and the engine falls out. Maureen fires liquid helium, freezing the robots. John smashes them, except the yellow robot. It throws him aside and activates the engine. Just then, John receives an audio signal from Will. A ship returns. Will is back. Will plays the sound. The alien robot panics, surrounded, refusing to shut down the engine. When Will stops the recording, the robot stabs him. A blue light surges through it, overriding its system. It transforms into the robot form and shuts down the engine.
Safe family.
It was all part of the robot's plan. Humanity on Alpha is saved, and the invasion is stopped. With peace restored, everyone begins a new life. Smith faces her past and is taken into custody to await trial. The family reunites, and humanity begins a new journey of exploration. This is where the story ends. On a scale of 10, how would you rate this series? Leave your answer in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
I'm his mother.